This is Corsair's latest flagship gaming mouse, the M75 Wireless. Not to be confused with the much lighter and £20 cheaper M75 Air Wireless, an ambidextrous gaming mouse with some rather interesting features and a frankly bemusing price tag. Let's take a look at this thing and see what it has to offer and help you work out if you want to splash your frankly insane amount of cash on it. Let's start with the design and shape. Being an ambidextrous mouse, it has a symmetrical shape. This is kind of a compromise for both left and right-handed players, but it isn't all that uncommon, nor is it too uncomfortable. It's a pretty large mouse, fitting my larger hands well, but that means that I think anyone with smaller hands would struggle. It's pretty long and has a fairly high hump in the middle, making for a more palm grip preference, at least for me anyway. Interestingly, I found the left and right click buttons perhaps just a little bit too long, as I kept accidentally pressing them with the lower part of my finger. I think that comes from the shape too, as it means that I want to leave my finger flat on the button rather than more sort of curled slightly. That's personal preference though. Texture-wise, this is okay. It's pretty smooth, and especially on the left and right click surfaces, it's very smooth, although there is plenty of space on the side to grip on just fine. Although you can actually buy optional stick-on rubber side grips from Corsair themselves for I think £9 extra. Technically those are for the Air version, but as I understand it, the shells are the same shape, so it should fit just fine. Something else that's pretty common for ambidextrous mice is the inclusion of buttons on both sides. Although Corsair has a pretty unique twist on this one. By default, only the left-hand side, so right-handed buttons, are actually active. You will need to use Corsair's desktop software, iQ, to enable the left-handed or right-sided buttons. But even more than that, physically, the right-handed buttons are pronounced, whereas the left-hand set are basically flush with the outer shell. Now, they still do click, you still can press them in, but they aren't exactly easy to press. That is, unless you press on the sort of centermost edge, when they basically just pop out. They're held in with a little screw and magnets, and they come with replaceable sets in the box. You have options for either flush on both sides or either side, or pronounced on either side, or both or neither, whatever you fancy, but it means that you can tailor the physical design of the mouse to how you want to use it, as well as, of course, on the software side. That's pretty cool, although it does mean that the buttons feel somewhat unsupported, kind of loose inside the shell, almost rattly, and actually a look inside the mechanism itself isn't overly well constrained. Like, it's fine, but it doesn't feel super premium or nice. As for the glide pads, the M75 Wireless has three. One at the front, one around the sensor, and one U-shaped piece at the back. These are stuck down with sort of like a fabric tape, which it turns out is painfully easy to rip if you need to get into the mouse, although Corsair will sell you replacement ones. Again, technically meant for the Air, for a frankly insane £23. As for how they feel, well, I would say they're pretty smooth. It glides well, especially on a softer mouse mat. One thing that actually might surprise you is the weight. On my scales, it weighed in at 91 grams, which is pretty hefty in today's lightweight, gaming mouse market. The Air, by comparison, is just 60 grams, making this a heavyweight by comparison. Despite me using a Razer Naga Trinity as my gaming mouse of choice at my PC, which weighs an ungodly 120 grams, this was noticeably heavy for me. Perhaps I'm a little spoiled by the amazing mice that I have available, like the Endgame Gear OP1 that I reviewed recently, but this definitely feels like a bit of a disadvantage compared to those lighter mice. Something that shouldn't be a disadvantage though is the sensor. This is a Corsair Marksman sensor, although a look under the 875 mAh LiPo battery reveals that it's actually a PixArt PAW3393DM, a seemingly unique model number to Corsair. It's listed as having up to 26,000 dpi, 650 inches per second of tracking, and up to 50 Gs of acceleration. Although realistically, like pretty much every other mouse, you're not going to be anywhere near that 26,000 limit, so that's not a big deal. Perhaps nice to have. Tracking-wise, at least to the eye, this feels smooth and accurate. I did notice a tiny bit of hitching on imperfect surfaces, so you will want to use this with a good quality mouse mat, but for all intents and purposes, it's pretty great. In fact, gaming in general does feel pretty good. The weight is something I noticed while playing, but once you get used to it, it's fine enough. The shape did kind of bother me. I don't think ambidextrous mice are really my preference, and I must admit that I don't like the feeling of the left and right click buttons. I'm not sure if it's because there's actually quite a lot of pre-travel, or the fact that these are optical switches which have a sort of fake click mechanism inside them that maybe isn't quite tuned as nicely as I would like, but something feels off to me. It honestly feels pretty cheap. Even my wife commented that it feels cheap when I got her to use it for a bit. Even the sound of each click is both different between them and just a bit off. Have a listen. See what I mean? And while we're talking about the clicks, we should talk about click latency. Now this is only a 1000 Hz mouse, although the Slipstream wireless dongle that does have a nice spot in the base for it claims to run at 2000 Hz, which in theory means that the wireless connection shouldn't be any slower than if you connected it via the USB-C port on the front that you'll otherwise use to just charge the mouse. Although I believe that that's actually more like packet duplication rather than true 2000 Hz, but anyway, being a 1000 Hz mouse, that means that the click latency isn't quite as fast as the higher polling rate options from the likes of Razer or the OP18K that I mentioned. Although it is worth noting that those are wired mice, and I don't think that there are any over 1000 Hz wireless mice yet, so that's actually pretty standard. Despite that limitation, Corsair has done a great job here. The optical switches that are in this definitely help, as my open source latency testing tool, which is available at osrtt.com, link in the description if you're interested, recorded just 2.1 milliseconds of average click latency. That's about as good as you can get for a 1000 Hz mouse, so good job Corsair. Considering this is meant to be Corsair's most premium flagship gaming mouse, I must admit that I'm left a little disappointed by the build quality. This genuinely feels cheap. The buttons feel a little too unsupported, the sound of the clicks is definitely off. Hell, even the RGB lighting is naff. Even on the slow setting, it just flashes constantly, which when your hand isn't actively covering it, making the RGB kind of pointless in my opinion, it then is just distracting while I was trying to write this script. Even the somewhat innovative side buttons don't feel all that great to the thumb, to the fingers, and dumb stuff like having to hold the power button down just to turn it on or off was kind of annoying. Battery life, at least in my limited testing, was perfectly fine. You can also use this with Bluetooth if you fancy, and having the USB-C port up front makes it pretty easy to top up when needed. The biggest problem by far though is the price tag. This is £120. This is one of the most expensive mice on the market, and this is what you get? If this was like 50 quid, it'd be fine. But for G Pro X super light money, well, I can't say that this is for me. If wireless is a necessity for you, there are plenty of other options, even ambidextrous options, that you might opt for instead. If you can deal with it being plugged in and don't need lefty support, that Endgame Gear OP18K that I've mentioned a few times now is where I would put my money. It's £70 instead, feels way better, comes with an extra set of PTFE skates and side grips in the box for free, and is like 50 grams. Seriously, go check out that video and you'll see why I like it so much. But, I mean, if you can get this on sale, it's certainly not a bad mouse by any stretch. In fact, things like the click latency make it pretty good. But this build quality and that price tag make it kind of hard to recommend. Of course, with that said, those are my thoughts, but I would love to hear yours in the comments down below. What do you think about the M75 Wireless? Is this a must for you, or is there something else you'd prefer instead? Let me know in the comments. I will leave a link to it if you're interested in the description, and I'll try and remember to leave the OP1 8K review on the end cards so you can check that out. If you want to see more videos like this one, more reviews, guides, and even stuff about my own tools like the open source latency testing tool, in fact, I have a new version coming out soon, so make sure you hit the subscribe button for that. I'm really excited. Then feel free to hit the subscribe button. Also check out plenty of other videos on the end cards, and you can check out links in the description, including to my tools, but also stuff like Amazon and Overclock's UK affiliate links, merch, and all that sort of stuff. Otherwise, that's kind of it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you on the next video.